Hi Eric, thanks for coming to our job interview. This interview is for the software developer position. Can you give me an idea of what programming projects you did in the past?
Yes, I have done several class projects in Python. I created programs to create patterns, applications to view images, and also created a paint application.
Good. Can you be a bit more specific?
Sure. For example, I use different modules, such as the Turtle, Tkinter, and Pygame modules in Python to create my projects.
Perfect. You sound like the person who has the knowledge to do our job. Can you come to our office again next week for another interview with the whole team?
Sure.
Thank you.
Hey everyone. So, that was a scene from one of my job interview last week. As you can see, computer programming is a valuable job skill to have these days. Let's watch this video to learn something about Pygame module, which I use to create my paint application in Python.
Hi everybody, how is everyone doing? I hope you all are having a good time. Right now I wanted to show you how to load an image in Python through Python's Pygame module, and Pygame is another module that you can use with Python, and it has some features through which you can create games and animations. It requires a separate installation. It doesn't come with your regular Python installation, so you have to install it separately. So look at my other video for Pygame installation, but today we'll just use Python's Pygame module to load an image onto a screen. So here I have my Python shell open. I'm going to go to Python. I'm going to go to File, New File. And first thing I'm going to write is import Pygame. And this will basically import the Pygame module into my program so that I can use all of Pygame's variables and functions and classes. So in the next line, I'm going to type pygame.init, open and close parentheses, and this means that initialize. Init stands for initialize, so initialize my Pygame. And initializing your Pygame means you are basically setting up your Pygame for use. So in the first line, you just import it. In the second line, you set up the Pygame for use. So I'll just write a comment here. I'll put pound, and I'll just say that this initialize will set up my Pygame module for use. And again, to comment something, I just put a pound sign in front, and everything is highlighted in red, which means that when my program runs, Python is going to ignore this line. So after I initialize my Pygame, I'm going to create a screen on top of which I'm going to load my image. So to create a screen, you type pygame.display.setMode, and then parenthesis, and then another parenthesis, 8. So this is two different kinds of parentheses, 800 by 600. So and then close both of these parentheses. So what I'm doing here is I am asking Pygame to create a display, and set mode means it's going to set up the properties of my display. So the display is going to be of this size, 800 by 600. And I'm going to store my display inside the variable screen. So now if I run this 3 lines of code, I'm going to go to documents and save it in my Python lessons, and I'm going to name it as animation. Let's say image Pygame example, and you should not name your program or like while you're saving your program, do not name it as Pygame or Turtle or tkinter. Do not save your program as one of your module names, because when you do that, that will mask your actual module and you won't be able to run your program. So when you save your program, give it a completely different name than any of the Python modules, functions, or variables. So here I have a completely different name. Even though I used Pygame over here, I have like something else in front and after. So just make sure you don't save your program as Pygame, tkinter, or any of the module names or functions. So I'm going to hit save. And when my program runs, you can see that I have created this screen, this 800 by 600 screen. It automatically gives me a black screen, and now I'm going to change this heading from Pygame window to something else. So if I click on close over here, you can't exit it because the cross over here doesn't have any code to exit yet. So to close it, just close this shell at the back. So in the next line, let's just change my heading. So to change my caption, I'm going to write pygame.display.set caption, parenthesis, quotation. I'm going to write, this is my Pygame smiley, because we're going to load a smiley image. Close the quotation and the parenthesis. So I'm basically asking Pygame to set a caption on my display that I created in the previous screen, and this is what my caption is going to say. You put your caption inside this quotation and parenthesis. So now if I run this module, you have the screen over here with this heading. This is my Pygame smiley. So let's close this. The next thing that I'm going to do is load my smiley into my program. So if I go to my documents folder, inside my Python lessons, I have saved a picture, crazy smile. So when I open this, you can see that I have a smiley over here. And if I click on the properties, you can see that the name of my picture is Crazy Smile and the type of file is BMP. So it's BMP like that. And one thing you should remember, and this is very, very important, is that you need to make sure that the picture that you're trying to load is in the same folder or is in the same location where you saved your Pygame program. So in my case, as you can see, the image_Pygame_example, I saved my program in the same folder, in the same location as my picture. So if I saved this picture in a different folder, my Pygame, I won't be able to load this in my program. So make sure your picture is in the same place where you're saving your Pygame program. So I've saved it over here. So I'm going to go back to my program, and I'm to load the picture. This is what you need to type. Pygame.image.load, and then you put a parenthesis and then a quotation, and you name your picture. So we saw that our picture is Crazy Smile, like this, C capital, S capital, and it ends with a BMP extension, like this. So crazysmile.bmp, and then I close the quotation, close the parenthesis. So this will basically load my image. So I'm asking Pygame to load my image, and this is my image name, and I'm going to save this image inside this variable pig. Now, if I run this module, run this program, nothing happens. So your image is not visual yet, because we have some more stuff to do. so it's not that fast. So what we're going to do right now is we will create a loop. Okay, so but before that, I'm just going to use this Boolean expression, true, and I'm going to save this inside this variable called keep going, like this. So I'm basically saving this Boolean expression true inside the variable keep underscore going. Now in the next line, this is what I'm going to type. I'm going to create my game loop. So I'm going to comment this. So this will be my Pygame game loop. So in Pygame, these first couple of lines that you see here, those are all the setup. So so these Pygame init, so this is basically from here, all the codes that you see are my Pygame setup. So here I'm importing it, I'm initializing it, and this, all these lines of code will, set up my screen, the display, the picture, and everything. So in Pygame, you first need the setup, then you need to create the game loop, and then you need to exit that loop. So we're going to create, and this is actually for all of your Pygame program, this is the pattern that you need to follow. So in my Pygame game loop, I'm going to type while, which is one of the loop command, while keep going. So this basically means that while keep going, or while something is true, because keep going is storing my value true. So while something is true, and then I hit enter, it automatically tabs my screen. I type screen.blit, and then parenthesis, pick, comma, parenthesis 100, 100, close parenthesis, and close parenthesis. So what I am doing here is I'm saying that while anything is true, keep on doing something again and again until it becomes false. So while something is true, take my screen, which I created here with this specification, take my screen, and on top of that, blit this picture, this PIC. And PIC is actually my actual image, which I loaded here. And blit is basically another function in Pygame, which will basically take your crazy smile picture and it's going to copy it on your screen. So blit just copies your picture to the screen. In this line, I'm just taking my screen and I'm copying this pic, blitting this pic on my screen. And pic has this picture over here, right? And then I am placing this picture or this pic at this X and Y coordinate, 100 and 100. So in Pygame, your X and Y coordinate starts on the top left of your screen. So 100, the top left, at the very top left, it's going to be 0, 0. But I said 100 and 100 is my XY coordinate. So the pic is going to appear a little bit on the bottom right. So I'm blitting my picture, and then it's a while loop. I'm going to keep on blitting this again and again and update my screen. So I'm going to type pygame.display.update, open and close parenthesis. So now if I run all of this code, let's see what happens. So you can see my picture. So what's happening in the back end is I'm running this while loop, and in this while loop, my picture is constantly being updating and posting at the same location. So let's close this. Okay. So what's happening here is I'm saying that while something is true, take my picture and keep on blitting it or copying it on my screen at this location. Keep on doing it and updating the screen again and again. Do that and update the screen again and again. Now, usually the reason why we create this loop in Pygame is because when you have an animation, let's say you have like one picture where a character is standing and then another picture where a character is walking. When you're creating an animation, you basically take these two pictures and you constantly flip it between walking and standing, walking and standing. And when you do it constantly, one after the other, it gives you the illusion that your character is walking. That's what animation is. So if you, instead of this static picture, if you had like 2 or 3 different pictures, you definitely would have needed this while loop so that you know, when you pass through the loop the first time with one of the standing picture, it will just split the picture at a location and update the screen. In the second pass, you can use a different picture, such as a walking picture, and you could have split it at a different location, and then you update the screen, and then in the third pass, you can have a different kind of picture where the character is sitting, and you can split that and update the screen. So when you do this while loop again and again, if you have like a character that's, and you want to make that character walk, with this while loop, you can have several frames of that character standing, sitting, or running, and you can just constantly switch it back and forth and update the screen between your different pictures to give the illusion of motion. So we'll discuss it in more when we do more Pygame, but here, with this while loop, we have a static picture. So even though we are updating the screen, it doesn't do much because we have a static picture that's being updated and pasted in the same location continuously. But usually the while loop is good for, is the reason we create while loop is for animations.